Caleb Williams, the top projected quarterback in the 2024 draft class, has reportedly told Colin Cowherd on his show that he does not want to go to the Chicago Bears. Evan, what do you make of this? And do you think that's true?
Yeah, apparently it was a leak, and the only reason why this does have some credibility is Colin Cowherd does have some ties to USC. Take of it what you mean. I mean, he's a Fox Sports, host now, so take of it what you can get. But I think there's three reasons to potentially believe this. It doesn't mean I for sure believe it, but it means I lean towards that way. One has to do with the Cardinals leak early in the season, where I don't know if he actually came out and said this, but there was rumors that if the Cardinals were the number one overall pick, that he was going to sit out if they went there. Now, as the Bears, it kind of makes you think about Caleb Williams, right? But so that's one reason to believe it. The second one, and which I think is the most important one, is the Bears are a dysfunctional organization. Now we're gonna get to the Bears in a little bit, and I'm not defending Caleb Williams here, but I just on his side, PWTB, we explained both sides, right? It could be because of dysfunction. I mean, who are the other big name quarterbacks who have sat out at the number one overall pick? You think about John Elway all the way back in 1983. You think about him. The Colts weren't an embarrassing organization by any means, but he decided to sit out from them and go to the Broncos. You think about Eli Manning all the way in 2004 with the Chargers. The Chargers, they had some good teams too. And Eli just didn't want to go there because of organizational dysfunction. Obviously, the Chargers went on to win no Super Bowls and the Giants went on to win two. So, maybe it was right to an extent. And then you kind of have the same thing with the Bears. The Bears have tons of turnover. They're in a huge market. Theoretically, they should be competing a lot more than they have been, but they just haven't. But the third reason, on a little less, I think two is the big one. The third reason is Caleb Williams does have an ego. That's undoubtable. We've seen it in the past. And it's kind of like how the NBA runs things, right? Where a player calls the shot sometimes, where they can even get a coach potentially fired. I like the NBA. I enjoy it. That's just one and least drawback to me about it is how it's celebrity status. And people will say, Evan, what do you mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is a player could just, speak out and a coach could get fired or something. And we've seen this come in the NFL recent years a little bit too. We've seen it with Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, for example. And we've seen it obviously when Antonio Brown went back with the Raiders when he was doing that whole fiasco. We've seen ego get in the way a little bit. So I think there's definitely reasons to believe these leaks. We just don't know enough yet, but I lean towards believing them. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think there's reason to believe these leaks. Caleb Williams does have a bit of an ego, which is why he kind of reminds me of Baker Mayfield a little bit. I know Baker Mayfield was the number one overall pick. He didn't say out. But yeah, Caleb Williams with that ego kind of reminds me about Baker Mayfield a little bit.
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield might have a little bit of a different ego. His is on the field, which is at least I respect, but I don't remember much off the field stuff other than when he did some antics and planted the flag. That was all college stuff though. So maybe Caleb Williams matures too, who knows. But with the Bears though, it's interesting. I've been asked, what do you think this is a good move for the Bears? Do you think getting Caleb Williams and maybe trading Fields is a good move? It depends. I mean, with the Bears, you don't know. So so you trade Fields. What are you going to get for Fields? Your second, so you take Caleb Williams first overall, you have a second top 10 pick. What are you going to use with that? What are you going to use in free agency? I mean, the Bears, to me, it all depends. They have good pieces all around on defense and even on offense now, too. Especially DJ Moore, the receiver
Yeah.
from Carolina. They even have the Bears for a long time. You couldn't even say they had pieces on offense. Now they do. It's just that offensive line. It's got to get fixed eventually. And I would say the draft. I would say I don't know if they're going to get that tackle from Notre Dame. Maybe they can. Maybe they can get Tyron Smith from the Cowboys, get some veteran leadership in there. He's a free agent, I believe, this season. So they'll have their options for sure. It just depends. The Caleb Williams alone will not say he may be better than Fields. I don't even know if that's a fact for sure too. I think Fields has, he has tremendous potential. He has a great arm too. People forget about that. He just some of the decision making hasn't quite gotten there, especially if you watch that last Packer game. But he has it. It's just can they address the line? Because otherwise it doesn't really matter outside of that.
I've said it. I've said this since the college football season ended. I feel like Bears would be making a mistake with the number one overall pick if they did select Caleb Williams. I don't believe Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in this draft class.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be a question I raised to you then, Jake. Do you think there's another quarterback they should trade Justin Fields away and draft number one overall? Now, keep in mind that's a pretty big deal, but do you think there's another quarterback for that?
I feel like there's two quarterbacks in the first round that you will trade up to, that you will trade Justin Fields to go get. That's either Bo Nix from Oregon or Jaden Daniels from LSU.
Well, they don't have to trade to go get anyone. They're the number one overall pick. It's just trading Justin Fields.
No, I'm
Yeah.
trading Justin Fields away.
Yeah, no, and I get what you're saying. I'm just saying with the phrasing a little bit, like they don't have to go get anything. They have the number one overall pick. I'm just saying, you're right. That what's the
Yeah,
point of keeping Fields at that point? But that's the beauty of it too. They already have the number one overall pick. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off. You don't have to do a Carolina Panthers type thing where you trade away your entire future for Bryce Young. But yeah, so Bo Nix is hit or miss. I've seen quarterbacks come out like him. I think he could be a very good quarterback. Number one overall pick. That might be a lot of pressure. I really do like Jaden Daniels, though, and I'm going to be curious how both of those guys do at the combine. I
Bo Nix really reminds me of the, his former or the former Oregon stand-up quarterback Justin Herbert. Bo
Justin
Nix
Herbert,
definitely reminds me of Herbert a little bit.
who, by the way, for a sixth overall pick, did not really get a lot of noise in college. He kind of like in the 2020 draft board, he kind of came up at the end. Like he was good in college too.
Yeah.
People just didn't pay attention to him.